The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Most people are familiar with the saying, and there are several interpretations to this. The first and most common interpretation is when an individual, organization, or group of people do something they believe is a good thing but has unintended negative consequences. For example, the Everglades were drained because it was universally believed that it would create more farmland, but it killed a lot of fish, plants, and algae, and those things have negatively impacted that entire ecosystem. And for those reasons, the glades are in bad shape. Another common interpretation of this saying is when someone voices their intent to do something good to keep something bad from happening, but never takes action. A good example of this is when a person loses their job. Then that person's friend tells them that they'll get them a job where they work to keep them from falling on hard financial times. When the friend doesn't follow through, they can't pay their mortgage, can't make their car payment, and so forth, which of course results in foreclosure, repossession, and eventually bankruptcy. Now, what those interpretations have in common is the intent. Whether or not a person or people follow through with what they say they'll do, or if a person or people don't see the unintended consequences on the horizon of their good intentions, in both cases they meant to do something good. Their intent was to help or to benefit a person or people with their action. But there's another interpretation of this adage that is not done or carried out with good intentions. And this is when someone says their intentions were good when they get caught doing something wrong. For example, if a woman finds out her best friend has been exchanging flirty texts with her boyfriend, the best friend will say, "Why are you upset? I did this to show you that your boyfriend can't be trusted. You talk all the time about how you don't trust him and you think that he would cheat on you if he had the chance, so by flirting with him, I did you a favor." Now, as obvious as that is to us, that those were nefarious intentions by the best friend, we see and hear about people using this disingenuous ploy to cover up their bad behavior all the time. So now the question becomes, why do people use this tact when it's readily apparent to them and everyone around them that they're full of it? Why would people use this indirect blame shifting technique when it sets off everyone's BS meter almost all the time? Simple. People just don't want to look bad. They don't want to be looked at as morally corrupt people. They don't want to draw the ire of the person or people they did the bad thing to. So they make up a piss poor excuse as to why what they did is a good thing, even though it's crystal clear that it most certainly was not. Chris W. sent me an article entitled, "Women Cheat Because They Love Their Husbands and Want to Save Their Marriages," which I'm sure that no less than 100% of people who saw the title of this article, man or woman, laughed out loud, because this is as good an example as there is in terms of trying to cover up their poor behavior by telling everyone about their good intentions. The article was published on The Independent last June and was written by Chelsea Richtel. So let's dive in and see what kind of mental gymnastics this broad is performing, shall we? The article starts, "Women cheat on their husbands out of love and a desire to save their marriages, according to a new book." Alicia Walker, a Missouri State University professor, made the surprising claim in The Secret Lives of Cheating Wives after a year of interviewing unfaithful women. Walker spoke to more than 50 women, aged 24 to 65, after placing a request for case studies on married dating site Ashley Madison, and says she found out that women who cheat typically do not want to leave their marriages. Rather, they are simply looking for sex and orgasms. The reason this comes as such a shock to the men who read this is because most men have zero clue as to how females really operate. I'll discuss this further in just a moment, but first let me remind you to text DAWN to 474747 to be notified of the long-awaited release of the sequel to my signature course, Womanese 101, Womanese Volume 2, which drops on July 31st. Womanese Volume 2 will help you to decode what women are really saying when they communicate with you. Everything from what a woman's true motivations are when they ask you questions on a first date, to the things they say early on that set up future infidelity, to the things they tell you that shows you she has a promiscuous past. Womanese Volume 2 will help you crack the female code and will prevent you from being taken advantage of by women. You will learn how to instantly recognize when women are lying to you, giving you clues that she's stepping out on you or about to step out on you. Womanese Volume 2 will also have a congruency test compendium, also known as an S-test, that will teach you how to handle the curveball questions that girls throw at you when you're chatting them up. Over 175 words and phrases will be translated in this course. And remember, you'll get Womanese 101 and Womanese Volume 3 absolutely free when you buy Womanese Volume 2. Guys, that's almost 300 words, phrases, questions, and tests that women throw in your direction that you will learn to swat away easily. Plus, you get a lifetime access to my Sunday webinars where I do coaching and consultations. I'll answer your questions about girls, game, finance, fitness, and anything else that pertains to dominating life as a man in 2020. Keep in mind, the course will only be available for purchase for just a few short days and space is limited. So if you want to get on the waiting list to be notified the moment it's released, text DON to 474747. Standard messaging and data rates may apply. Okay, let's get back to what most men have no idea about when it comes to cheating wives. Of course they don't want to leave their marriages. They have the best of both worlds. They have an endless supply of men who will satisfy all of their sexual needs and a man who takes care of her non-sexual needs in the form of a husband. The reason these women don't want to leave their marriages is because both sides of their dualistic sexual strategy are being satisfied. If they're having their cake and eating it too, why would they want to leave their marriages? Now, the article's title says that women cheat because they love their husbands, and the title is right. These cheating wives do love their husbands. But what these women didn't tell Alicia Walker during these interviews is that the love they have for their husbands is not the kind of love their husbands want from them. You see, guys, when a woman says she loves a man, it can mean many different things. And unfortunately, men who don't understand that a woman's love has many dimensions and levels, they make the mistake of committing to or staying committed to a woman who doesn't love him like he loves her. The kind of love these unfaithful wives have for their husbands is the same kind of love girls have for guys in the friend zone. Think about it, guys. A man with an unfaithful wife is almost in the same position as a man in the friend zone. I would even go as far to say that a man in the friend zone is in a more favorable position than a man who has a cheating wife, because at least being in the friend zone won't get you raked over the coals in the divorce. At least he doesn't have to give up half his present and future earnings and see his kids every other weekend while his ex-wife gets pounded out by Dave the unemployed garage band guitar player who may or may not have 7 kids in 7 different states. So as bad as it is being friend-zoned by a woman you've never had sex with, it's a much better situation than living with and having children with a woman who has friend-zoned you and can destroy your life with the stroke of a pen. The bottom line here is that these women have friend-zoned their husbands and are getting all of the benefits of being married without any of the costs associated with it, which is refraining from indulging in sexual exploits with men other than their husbands. The article continues. Speaking to The Sun about her findings, Walker said, quote, "More than half of the women I talked to, 26 to be precise, said, I'm in a sexless marriage or I'm not having orgasms and that's why I'm cheating." Walker's interest in the topic of why married women cheat was piqued after reading a study that revealed women in their early 40s were most likely to cheat. This just goes to show that most husbands don't keep themselves together because they still believe in unconditional love. I'm here to tell you guys, unconditional love does not exist. A woman can never love a man like she will love her children or her pets. Unconditional love is a myth, and any man who doesn't know or believe this is in for a rude awakening, much like the men who will eventually find out their 40-something wives are banging their personal trainers. Back in episode 482, I talked about 5 reasons why men keep getting cheated on. And in addition to being non-confrontational, not protecting her from herself, and putting too much responsibility on her, one of the main reasons women cheat is because their husbands foolishly believe that their wives love them for who they are, rather than for what they are. And the minute a man ceases being what he is, his wife will look elsewhere for a man who is who he used to be. This isn't a woman's nature. Yes, it is absolutely wrong and deceitful when a woman cheats. There's no doubt about it. We've discussed this ad nauseum. But let's not pretend that female infidelity is solely the responsible of the woman. We share in that blame, guys. We can't moan and groan about how our last 3 girlfriends all cheated on us when we got fat, got unmotivated, and stopped maintaining our high value or increase it any more than women can complain about guys cheating on them when they are fat, stop putting out, and are intolerable. Infidelity most of the time is a two-way street. Now that doesn't absolve women for cheating, but that doesn't let us off the hook either. Those of you who have followed me over the years know all about how bad my ex-wife Darcy was, but I also take responsibility and admit that I got fat, acted soft, and wasn't a real man at that point. So while it's clear that today's women are the worst they've ever been in history in terms of being faithful, blaming them for all of your shortcomings will get you nowhere. If you keep yourself together, your woman is much less likely to step out on you. No, there are no guarantees, but this line of thinking and this lifestyle isn't about guarantees. It's simply about stacking the odds in your favor. The article continues. Knowing the majority of these women had no interest in finding a new mate at this age, Walker wanted to uncover why these women who claim to love their husbands were cheating on them. She found that for many of the women, the choice to cheat was not a spontaneous one, but one made out of necessity. Discussing her unexpected discovery, Walker said, quote, "It was very much this calculated, deliberate decision to get what they were missing from their marriages, which for them was orgasms, and they were really cheating to stay married, which was quite surprising. Rather than giving in to sexual urges with men other than their husbands for fun, The majority of women Walker spoke to said they seek sexual relationships outside of their marriages because they are not having their physical needs met by their husbands and feel that this is the only way to save their marriage. Now, this is where these women being interviewed are being disingenuous. In what universe is sleeping with other guys good for your marriage? How the hell does taking another man's sausage save your marriage? This is exactly what I was talking about earlier. Saying they're engaging in bad behavior for good reasons, knowing full well they're just doing it because they lack morality, impulse control, temperance, and decency. Women never calculate anything preemptively. They don't make decisions based on rationale and data before they make bad decisions. They just make bad decisions. They only become pragmatic and calculating when it comes to covering up their affairs after the fact. This works the same way when they lose attractiveness. When a female is young and sexually attractive, her decisions are impulsive and lack thought and rationale. She sleeps with the tatted up bad boys on a whim without a second because in her mind, she's in her sexual prime and she's got plenty of time, which affords her the luxury of being reckless. But after she loses her attractiveness, she starts engaging in rational thought. She starts engaging in logic because she no longer has the luxury of time and peak sexual attractiveness. Some reveal decade-long dry spells, the article continues, led them in search of orgasms elsewhere, with the only other option being to leave their husbands. One woman Walker interviewed said she made her decision when she realized taking care of yourself wasn't a good enough replacement for sex, while another wife said it took her kneeling on her knees sobbing for her to realize she had to cheat or I will leave him. Oh, give me a break. These women didn't agonize over this difficult decision. They decided to cheat when they saw Kevin's six-pack abs. The only sobbing they did was on their knees when their eyes welled up when choking on Kevin's package. Get the hell out of here with that. This is what women do, guys. They engage in bad behavior, then try to convince us that they feel guilty about it. It continues. Others revealed they sought sex elsewhere because their husbands couldn't physically give them what they needed because of health limitations, and they didn't want resentment to ruin their marriages. This again, 100% BS. Fractions of a percentage of women cheat because of their husband's health limitations. Those are the gross outliers and exceptions to the rule, and I can guarantee you that none of these women interviewed was in that situation. Even though women are disingenuous about their intentions after the fact, most of them just flat out lie. I cheated because he cheated, women will say. How about this one? We're in an open marriage. I've had girls tell me, well, he gave me permission to cheat or he wasn't attentive enough. Number one, no red-blooded male would ever give his wife permission to cheat. Number two, in 146% of open marriages, it's the wife that gets sex from men while the husband doesn't get any from other women. Number three, women rarely revenge cheat on men of value. If their high-value boyfriend or husband cheats, it hurts, yes, but cheating back is the last thing on their minds. And number four, inattentive men, men who are emotionally unavailable, are the kinds of men women throw themselves at, including the women married to these men. Surprisingly, the article continues, many of the women Walker interviewed revealed that having their orgasm needs met made them, quote, better wives and better mothers, and their biggest concern was protecting their marriage. Oh my God. Upon hearing the lengths the wives would go to, which included vetting their sexual partners to ensure that there would be no emotional attachment, to doing everything they could to make sure their husbands would never find out, all in an effort to keep their marriages from falling apart, Walker described the phenomenon as heartbreaking. The fact that women actually say infidelity makes them better wives is such an obvious ploy to justify their bad decisions. It is an insult to the intelligence of the people who read this article. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. And get this, the only vetting involved was sexual attractiveness. If the guy was hot, they would cheat. Cheating wives know damn well they don't vet anybody to make sure there's no emotional attachment. These women are trying to make us think that this is a process of discernment and thoroughness. At the end of the day, wives cheat because they're hoes, and that's all there is to it. We all know that the more men a woman sleeps with, the less likely they are to remain faithful to their husbands. And I don't need any studies or statistics to tell me this, even though there are scores of them out there that verify this. Just look at the state of today's marriages and relationships, and it's easy to see that the reason why women cheat on their husbands far more often than not is because they slept around before tying the knot. You can't turn a hoe into a housewife, guys. At least not the kind of housewife that keeps her legs closed. So fellas, is this article a bunch of BS, or do you think there's some validity to it? And ladies, who am I kidding? You'll just lie anyway and defend these hoes because you guys engage in the same behavior. So please, spare me your comments on this one. And tonight, I will be live from Atlantic City at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll be answering questions and taking phone calls, just like I did last week from Virginia. Thanks for watching.